Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Benjamin, and today I want to talk a little bit about what the Republican strategy should be going forward. I'm going to do a video at some point on the Democrats, just to give a little bit of balance to this. And I'm more specifically talking about the midterms, even though I've got a general election map for president up here. Just kind of ignore that. It's just to give eye candy. So, what should the Republicans actually do for the midterms, and how can they maximize their own campaign based off of strategy, communication, advertising sort of thing, right? Before we get too far into it, if you like the content, likes, comments, and subscriptions, they always do help, and I greatly appreciate them. I want to thank everybody who has done so in the past, and all y'all who are continuing to like and comment and subscribe. Likes and comments, of course, they help the algorithm not hate me. And subscriptions, well, let's try and reach 1,000 by the end of the year. That'd be pretty cool. We're not that far away, closing in on like 160 away, so we're getting there. Anyway, so let's talk about what the Republican strategy should be for the midterms. The first thing they need to do is make sure they get recruitment correct. And what do I mean by this? I mean that the Republicans need to make sure they're getting the right candidates for the areas they need to be competing in. Such as in suburban districts, they need to get people who appeal to the modern suburban voter, who tends to be a little bit more liberal on social issues, and is really just, not entirely what the Republicans, super conservative base in, say, Wyoming or the Deep South might want. Exception for Atlanta when I talk about the Deep South, because Atlanta it's a different animal. Let Florida run its own party, including House and Senate, because the Florida GOP knows what it's doing. In Texas, New Mexico, and Arizona, you need to expand Latino outreach, especially given Donald Trump's margins in the general election in places like the Rio Grande Valley, rural New Mexico, and even the major cities, certain parts of Albuquerque and Santa Fe. If you can expand Latino outreach there, that is in those areas, that helps a tremendous amount. It helps in New Mexico. It may even flip the state if you can do well enough with your traditional base there. In Texas, that'll help mitigate the losses in the suburbs due to an influx in population. And if you get the right recruitment, you might not completely flop in the suburbs. So it's important to get that balance. But the GOP has a very good opportunity in these heavily Hispanic or Latino areas in the South, in the desert Southwest. And that is big for the Republican Party. Colorado, you're not going to win Colorado. Just not going to happen. In the Midwest, you need to get people who have a working class background as much as possible, or who can appeal to the white working class in places like Pennsylvania, though Pennsylvania is complicated by Philadelphia and the collar counties. Ohio, absolutely, you need to be going in the Ohio River Valley. You need to be holding on to the traditionally Republican areas. Also, Michigan, you can definitely improve there, though you do need the suburbs, because Detroit and its suburbs definitely complicate things too. Wisconsin, if you can expand and just basically take the driftless area and the rural areas, Milwaukee is not big enough to outvote the rest of the state like, say, Minneapolis is to Minnesota, or New York City is to New York. And to an extent, Atlanta is to Georgia, but even then, Georgia is very competitive. in Georgia. In the rural areas, get the right candidates for those areas, but in the suburbs, again, go for the suburban voter. Go for the type of voter who came down to Georgia looking for lower taxes, but was okay with some of the social policy that had been implemented in places like New York, in California, in Illinois. You don't have to abandon all of your social conservative principles. You can remain pro-life. You can remain pro-gun. It's just, you can't be seen to be, say, against... Well, you can't make it easy for the Democrats to say, look at them, you're a racist, you're sexist, you're all that stuff. Basically, pick candidates who make sense, are reasonable people, and can actually communicate their ideas in a reasonable manner. Now, for advertising and campaigning, what the party needs to do is they need to portray that Biden is governed further to the left than he campaigned on, which is kind of the opposite of what happens with most presidents, where they campaign a little bit towards the more liberal or conservative side and then kind of walk back towards the middle. Obama did this, Bill Clinton did this, George Bush did this, both of them. Hell, even Reagan did it. So, yeah, that is one way, is to say, hey, look, Biden kind of is appealing to the furthest wing of his party with pushes for more government regulation, which beyond just what Biden would have, say, 15, 20 years ago, basically say Biden promised to govern like he was Joe Manchin, for bipartisanship and unity. If he would have been willing to, say, come to the table and give us something that we wanted in exchange, we would have met with him and talked about it. Instead, he has gone full on to the point where Joe Manchin doesn't, and Kyrsten Sinema and other Democrats don't fully support the Biden agenda. That's a very good message, is saying, listen, Biden is even losing members of his own caucus in the Senate. And that can become a very effective piece of policy, of campaign advertisement. And that's another step. The other thing is, the Republicans need to tie the Democratic Party and any Democratic House candidates they're facing to the least popular Democrats nationwide. People like Nancy Pelosi, Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez, Ilhan Omar, Rashida Tlaib, as well as, the one New Yorker whose name strikes fear in the hearts of young ladies, Andrew Cuomo. It's Andrew Cuomo, not the other Cuomo. I get the two Cuomos confused, and try to tie the Democratic Party to those types of figures. Cuomo, Pelosi, Omar, Tlaib, and Ocasio-Cortez. Once you get to that, then we can talk about, actual policy discussions. Try to appear moderate. Say, listen, I'll work with the Democrats where possible. And I'm willing to, say, hey, listen, I know this is going to happen. I'll work with you on this. I want something in return, and this is what I want in return. And then once you actually get in office, back your words up. And of course, with outreach, like I said, they actually do need to go into these urban cores where Trump improved dramatically on his 2016 performance, as well as places like the Rio Grande Valley. And these communities that swung heavily towards Trump. Figure out why that happened, but also put in the community outreach to say, hey, you did it once. Is it really that bad of an idea to keep voting Republican? You know, and when I say Florida should be running its own party, I genuinely mean that. Because Florida hasn't had a Democratic governor since the fall of the Soviet Union. And they keep getting almost better and better at winning close, tight elections in their own state. So be like the Florida Republican Party. Learn your state. Learn what matters in your state. Adapt with your state. And maybe you can be like Florida too. And that's what the Republicans need to be doing. Anyway, that's going to be it for today. Thank you all for watching. I hope you enjoyed. I'll see you all next time, and take it easy. Have a very lovely evening. Good night.